After doing a shit ton of testing to see how Escanor's Greatsword compares to his axe, I've come to the conclusion that, believe it or not, his Greatsword is actually better than his axe against high HP bosses. But against low HP bosses, his axe is actually slightly better than his Greatsword. To showcase this, I'm gonna be going up against a fairly easy to beat boss, Triple F, aka the fat fucking frog, or better known as the Molbog. I'm gonna go up against this weak boss because it doesn't take any increased or decreased damage from holy or fire attacks, like the majority of other bosses in this game do. Then I'm gonna be going up against a fairly hard to beat boss, the Orgot boss, who similarly to Triple F, he also doesn't take any increased or decreased damage from holy or fire attacks, so the showcases shouldn't be rigged due to the weaknesses of bosses. Also, if my teammate choices in the showcases seem a bit strange to you, just know that I spend literal hours testing out whether my crit supports or my magic orb generators were better for each showcase. Anyways, to start things off, I'm gonna be using my axe Escanor against the Molbog boss. I'm gonna start off by triggering a fire burst with my Gila rather than farming magic points, because for this boss, I already pre-farmed them. Then I'm gonna switch to Slater for some crit buffs. Then I'm gonna collect my sunspot stacks before switching to Manny to get more crit buffs. Then I'm gonna switch to Escanor to collect my final sunspot stack, and boom, I crit the big hit of my ultimate, and because of that, I was able to clear in around 35 seconds. Now to do it again, but with the Greatsword Escanor. Again, pre-farmed the magic orbs because I can, and I'm gonna start off by applying a burn stack and trying to trigger a fire burst with my Gila. Then I'm gonna switch to Manny for her crit and ultimate buffs. Then I'm gonna switch to Slater for some more crit buffs. Then I'm gonna start applying some burn stacks and dot debuffs with my Escanor, while doing a shit ton of damage with the skills and normal attacks. Then use the ultimates and look at those ticks. And then boom. And then again, fuck it, special skill, and that's it. So my Greatsword Escanor was able to beat the Molbog in 40 seconds, which in comparison is around 12% slower than my axe Escanor, aka only 5 seconds slower. So honestly, if you see this difference in damage and think that, boo, obviously the Greatsword Escanor just got unlucky, well, I don't blame you. A 5-second difference really is a very small difference that could be due to my Greatsword Escanor just getting unlucky, but it could also be due to an axe Escanor just being slightly better than a Greatsword Escanor. Now for the difficult boss, the Orgot boss, I want to preface with the fact that I didn't pre-farm any magic orbs for these showcases because according to the devs, that feature will be removed for bosses. Also, heads up, because of this, I also swapped my crit supports for magic gauge generators because, again, from rigorous testing, these two motherfuckers were somehow slightly better than these two fuckers. Anyways, I'm gonna start off with my axe Escanor, and I'm gonna start by spamming a shit ton of Handy and Radiant skills so that I can get those precious magic orbs. And I'm gonna fill the burst gauge while my Handy and Radiant skills recover. Then back to them, back to the burst gauge, trigger it, and back again. Now I see that I already have around 6-7 magic orbs, so that's when I switch to Escanor and start getting a bunch of sunspot stacks. Here it comes! Then I just spam some normal attacks and skills, and then I restart my rotation by generating more magic orbs, stun him, and I already have enough magic orbs, so I start filling the burst gauge once again. And then here I try to get more sunspot stacks, but I remembered last time I didn't max out my orbs, so this time I'm gonna max them out. And then boom, in 1 minute and 43 seconds I was able to clear the Orgot boss with an axe Escanor. Now it's my Greatsword Escanor's turn. I'm gonna start off by using Manny's skills simply to get attack points so that I can switch onto Gila to fill up the burst slightly faster. Then once that's done, I switch onto my Escanor to apply some burn stacks, then use his skills so that I can do some more damage and apply those dot debuffs. Then switch onto Slater to apply his crit debuff and to get some more crit damage. Then switch onto Manny to apply her crit and ultimate buffs. Then I switch back onto Escanor and I nuke the motherfucker. He interrupted my skill again, but that's fine. Right now I'm doing a considerable amount of damage. I'm getting really unlucky by getting interrupted here, but I'll just stun him and fill up the burst gauge. Then, because every character in the team can technically contribute to the burst gauge, I'll just start applying my buffs and debuffs again, and I'll hope that the burst gauge gets filled after Escanor's big hits. There you go, and then spam more normal attacks and skills, and another ultimate that'll hopefully end this. Interrupted again. Jeez, man. And this blinding sun in my face doesn't really help with that. Regardless, I was able to beat the Orgot boss in 1 minute and 22 seconds, which means that my Greatsword Escanor was able to clear a difficult boss 20% faster than my axe Escanor, aka 21 seconds faster, which, at least to me, even when you put it in seconds, that difference doesn't really sound like luck. Now, if these results don't really make sense, I can help with that. You see, the reason for why an axe Escanor with pre-filled magic orbs can do slightly better, if not the same as a Greatsword Escanor against a weak boss, but a Greatsword Escanor without pre-filled magic orbs can do way better than an axe Escanor against a difficult boss, is mostly because magic orbs are way more crucial for an axe Escanor than they are for a Greatsword Escanor, which is also the reason for why I started to use magic orb generators rather than crit supports the second I stopped pre-farming magic orbs for my axe Escanor, because as you can see on the screen, using crit supports rather than magic orb generators for an axe Escanor against a difficult boss consistently decreased my DPS by around 10%. Thus, if I was able to pre-farm magic orbs against the Orgots, chances are my Greatsword Escanor and axe Escanor would have cleared relatively as fast, or my axe Escanor would have cleared slightly faster than my Greatsword Escanor. But again, because that strategy is getting yoinked from the game, you won't really be able to do that, so I won't be including that in this video. And in my opinion, if we're calculating clear times, well then pre-farming magic orbs for like a minute and then not adding it to the clear time, it just seems a bit disingenuous. I mean, pre-farming magic orbs does result in cooler and bigger numbers, but in my opinion, pre-farming magic orbs doesn't really save you time. If anything, it wastes a bit of time, so I wouldn't recommend doing it, and again, I won't be including that strategy in this video. Also, another reason for why these clear times may be a bit puzzling for some of you may be due to the difference in investment between my axe Escanor and my Greatsword Escanor, which I swear was not on purpose, I'm just broke. You see, for my axe Escanor, his costume was at level 1, and it had dogshit bonuses that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy, but his weapon was enchanted with a pretty good holy bead, and for my Greatsword Escanor, his costume was at level 2 and it had pretty good bonuses. But his weapon was enchanted with the worst possible bead, so there is a difference in investments between the two units, which could have quote-unquote rigged the results I got in this video. But in my opinion, the difference in investments mostly cancels itself out, and the difference isn't too impactful on the results. Regardless, point of the video is that a Greatsword Escanor is, surprisingly, relatively as good or simply better than an axe Escanor, and that's pretty much it. So stop wasting your time watching this video and go build him. Goodbye.